We have talked a lot about the importance of mental health on my channel, and by now we all understand that untreated mental issues can lead to disastrous outcomes. Today we will discuss a particularly gruesome case from 2017 in Singapore that shocked the entire nation. A man so mentally ill that he brutally exorcised his own fiancée. This is the sad and horrifying story of Gabriel Lee and Elsie Lai. It was late March 2012. Police were gathering on Jurong West Street 65 in Singapore after receiving calls from residents reporting a disturbance. The noise began with loud groans, shouts, and even cries of pain coming from one apartment. According to the tenants, the people living there were a couple named Gabriel Lee and Elsie Lai. They didn't know what was happening, but the disturbance was so unusual for early morning that they felt compelled to call the authorities. When the police arrived and checked multiple times, they found nothing visibly wrong with the pair. The only odd thing was that Elsie looked quite pale and tired. However, she had no visible injuries and there were no signs of domestic abuse. Despite this, the calls kept coming, and soon the paramedics from Block 633 called the police. Something sinister, truly awful had happened, and they needed to get there quickly. When they arrived, a scene of horror awaited them. A nearly decapitated body lay mutilated, with her eyes gouged out. Next to her was a man, seemingly unfazed by everything. He was Gabriel, the fiancé of the now-deceased Elsie. The scene shocked even the police. But the question is, what led to this point? For that, let us rewind time. Elsie Lai Lek Chi was born in Singapore in 1988 to his mother Chen Yok Mui and her father Lai Yong Song. She was the eldest of 3 children, responsible for her brother Lai Jin Chao and her sister Lai Jin Yuan. The family lived humbly, with the father being the sole earner, working as a carpenter and holding a side job. Although their life was simple, they were happy. Based on reports, little is known about Elsie's social and love life. However, her family knew her as kind and warm to everyone around her. While some might have considered her gullible, her family says she was simply very trustworthy. Through her hard work and dedication, she successfully landed a job as an administrative officer for the government. In April 2011, the unmarried 23-year-old Elsie was browsing a social networking site, as usual. And that's when she met 36-year-old Gabriel Lee Ha-ling. The pair started chatting and connected well. Soon they grew closer, confiding in one another about their daily lives and struggles. At some point, Elsie and Gabriel began dating online. And as a 23-year-old adult, Elsie deserved her own life, so it took her a while to tell her family about her relationship with Gabriel. Little is known about Gabriel himself. All we know is that he was a security guard in Singapore. He was married to a lawyer and had 2 children, but during his connection with Elsie, he was in the midst of a divorce. It is assumed that his ex-wife took custody of the children, leaving Gabriel alone. He shared all of this with Elsie, gaining her sympathy. Eventually, Elsie had to tell her family about her relationship, as she was serious about Gabriel. Her parents were naturally worried when they heard their daughter was dating someone she had never met in person. They were unsure if Gabriel was a good person. Despite her family's concerns, Elsie had already made up her mind. She was in love and determined to be with Gabriel. The relationship progressed quickly. In June 2011, Elsie moved out of her family home and into Gabriel's apartment. They were infatuated with each other, seemingly soulmates. However, things took a dark turn, and Elsie's parents' concerns proved to be true. By December 2011, Gabriel began behaving erratically. Concerned, Elsie likely asked him what was bothering him. Gabriel claimed he was having difficulties feeling safe in their home, believing it was haunted. Elsie tried to comfort him, but Gabriel insisted on his beliefs, saying something had to be done to get rid of the bad spirits. As early 2012 arrived, Gabriel became certain the spirits in their home were getting out of control. He even believed that the spirits had possessed Elsie. Deluded by this assumption, he took Elsie to a priest for an exorcism. However, the priest found nothing demonic about Elsie and turned them away. Frustrated, Gabriel resorted to having Elsie carry a small pocket Bible everywhere she went, even to work. So why exactly was Gabriel so certain about his narrative of possession? It was due to the onset of psychosis. People experiencing psychosis lose some contact with reality, ranging from mild to severe, making it difficult to differentiate between what is real and what is not. This may involve seeing or hearing things that others cannot, and believing things that are not actually true. While we don't know if Gabriel experienced hallucinations, we can be certain that he had a strong delusion about hauntings in his surroundings. Elsie didn't quite understand the situation. She was unaware of Gabriel's mental issues. Despite the absurdity she was subjected to, her love remained strong. It was not surprising when she accepted Gabriel's proposal during their vacation at Genting Skyway. All she wanted was a normal, happy life with the person she loved, nothing more. Yet it all ended terribly in the blink of an eye. On March 30th, 2012, everything unfolded. Around 6 p.m., Lee gave Elsie a shower in the kitchen bathroom. One of their housemates heard Lee groaning and snippets of a loud conversation between the couple. Initially, they thought it was just a typical couple's dispute, so they decided to leave them alone to sort out their problems. When the housemaid returned at 8:45 p.m., the couple was still in the bathroom. A domestic helper working in the apartment above Gabriel's also heard the loud shouting and groaning. Curious, she pressed her ear to the floor and listened. She heard Gabriel yelling, go back to the sky." She found it odd, but without much understanding of the situation, brushed it off and continued her work. When the couple finally came out of the bathroom, their housemates noticed that Elsie looked pale and was being supported by Lee. The couple returned to their room, and loud groaning noises continued until 11:08 p.m. This prompted the main tenant to call the police to report a dispute in the flat. 2 police officers arrived around 11:17 p.m. and knocked on the couple's room door. Lee opened the door and told the officers he had argued with Elsie. The officers saw Elsie lying on a mattress on the floor. She looked weak but had no visible injuries. The officers left around 11:40 p.m. after instructing the couple to keep the peace. As the night went on, the other occupants continued to hear groaning, wailing, whining, and shouting from Lee. At 6:30 a.m., the tenants woke up and wanted to check on the couple since the noises had stopped. However, something below the door made them stop in their tracks, horrified. Blood was seeping through the door's crack. They immediately called for help. The air smelled of blood the instant they stepped inside. Glancing through the room's slightly ajar door, a horrifying scene revealed itself. Naked from the waist up, Elsie lay still on top of Gabriel. The paramedics arrived first, but they hesitated, unsure of the whole scope of the situation or the possible risk. The paramedics, assessing the situation as unsafe, waited for the police to arrive. During this time, Lee gouged out Elsie's eyes and then flung them out of the window. The officers stormed into the room and were surprised to see a rather passive Gabriel holding a crucifix next to Elsie Lie's lifeless body. Elsie's half-dressed body had over 40 wounds. One of the most severe was a 13-centimeter wide gash from a failed attempt to decapitate her. Additionally, her right ankle had a deep wound measuring 13 centimeters by 8 centimeters from an unsuccessful amputation. Beside her were 2 pairs of scissors, a rotary can opener, a hammer, and a pair of pruning shears. Elsie was mutilated and dead. Her eyeballs and clumps of hair were recovered outside at the foot of the block. Gabriel was arrested on the spot without putting up any fight. Authorities immediately sent Gabriel for a psychiatric assessment. During the assessment, Gabriel referred to his fiancée as Elsie Lucifer. It was reported that Gabriel had developed a strong belief in ghosts and spiritual possessions from an early age, influenced by his strict Catholic upbringing. These ideas turned into obsessions as his mental health deteriorated, pushing him over the edge. The assessment suggested that with the right medical care, Gabriel might have avoided such a disastrous path. On February 23, 2017, the 42-year-old Gabriel entered a guilty plea to 1 count of culpable homicide not amounting to murder for the death of 24-year-old Elsie Lee. In court, Gabriel acknowledged his terrifying acts, appearing regretful. He described in graphic detail his effort to behead his fiancée. In front of Judicial Commissioner Pang Kang Chao in the High Court, Gabriel received an unexpected 10-year prison sentence for his crime. Originally charged with murder, his charge was reduced to culpable homicide due to a brief psychotic disorder at the time, which reduced his mental responsibility, though he knew his actions were wrong. Considering the savagery involved, Deputy Public Prosecutor Hei Hung Chun asked for a minimum 12-year sentence, even considering his mental illness. Naturally, Elsie's family opposed the sentence. Their daughter had passed away so tragically, and the perpetrator received only 10 years in prison. Of course, the family didn't just sit and let that happen. 3 days after the sentencing, on February 26, Elsie's brother, Lai Jin-chao, started an online petition. The petition stated their dissatisfaction with a 10-year sentence for culpable homicide. They demanded a longer sentence, arguing that Gabriel was a threat to public safety. Addressed to the Attorney General's chambers, the petition reached 500 signatures within a day. Unfortunately, there are no records of any actions taken in response to this petition. Elsie's mother, Madame Chen Yukmui, saw her daughter's killer for the first time in court. She knew her daughter Elsie was dating him and disapproved of the relationship. Even after he got engaged to her eldest child, she had never met him. Madame Chen was devastated, feeling that it was unfair given the horrific nature of her daughter's death. Madame Chen's son, Lai Jin-chao, said the family expected Lee to be sentenced to life imprisonment. He mentioned that his mother becomes even more emotional around Elsie's birthday and death anniversary. Gabriel was caught in 2012 and sentenced in 2017 to 10 years. Having already served 5 years by the time of sentencing, he only had another 5 years left. This means Gabriel has been released in 2022. So far, there's been no update on where Gabriel is or how he's doing. The death of Elsie was certainly uncalled for. Whether it could have been avoided or not, we can fully empathize with the fear and confusion she must have felt during her last days. I can't help but wonder if things might have been different if she had never met Gabriel online, or if she hadn't felt sympathy for his struggles. It is heartbreaking that her family did not get the justice they deserved, as Gabriel Lee is now out of prison. May he fully realize the gravity of his actions and live with the remorse for the rest of his life. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.